Are you ready for Roving Slant episode 30?
Question mark?
4? 5?
Yeah, 30XX? No.
Yeah. Wow, we're in the 300s.
Yeah, we've been doing this for a long time. I just wanted to identify with the triple digits before.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Maybe you start using like decimal places.
Yeah, we could do decimals. Yeah, those will be episodes in between other episodes.
We could we'd be like, well, I think chronologically, this episode belongs in between episode 32.48 and 32.47.
I like the idea of doing that. The aspect of, this one actually fits better between episode 1 and 2. So even though it was chronologically done at a later date,
yeah,
we're gonna go back in time.
And you can do that forever, right? Because you could just keep adding decimal places.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, this is episode 4.8273478.
This is really relevant with the tantric sex stuff and putting your feet on the welcome mat and making sure you don't come. So I think this fits better here.
Yeah, let's just,
Let's just shoehorn it in with another decimal.
I wonder if there's there's got to be a better numbering system out there that we should start using.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I know we do, I guess as far as some aspect of category for numbering, I know we do base 10. I'm sure there's other wilder examples of things like that.
You could do some wacky stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, at the end of the day, it's still numbering, I guess.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Maybe we need to divorce ourselves from numbers and go back to symbols.
Yeah, there we go.
Get rid of this Arabic number system.
Dude, they make too much sense. The numbers, it's like 1 + 1 does equal 2.
Yeah, it's the universal language.
Yeah, man, 1 + 1 = 11. Actually.
Shit. Yeah, if you go to Harvard, maybe, but.
So, anyways.
Yeah, what's up? Actually, I'm just gonna talk about myself first.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, why am I? I'm not gonna give you the floor.
My brain isn't loaded yet.
Yeah. The first thing I want to mention is my room is more spacious. I've gone through the process with the help of my girlfriend. Thank you. For essentially putting up a bunch of shelves. All my books are on display.
It's nice.
And then with the new look, I also have been redoing the menu in my game, so that looks nice. And I was trying to...
You're like spring cleaning.
Yeah, it is literally. Except it's summer.
Yeah, it's summer cleaning.
Summer cleaning. I like the aspect of it felt harmonious to also externally change things and then internally change things as well to balance that. So I felt that was good for my game, and I feel mentally more balanced too, having the cleaner space. I've always heard the quote, godliness is close to cleanliness, or cleanliness is close to godliness.
Flanders said that.
Yeah, I fully agree with that statement. The cleaner it is, the more godly something can be.
Wow.
Yeah, because if everything's just a fucking trash heap, that's not really godly.
That's close to the devil.
Yeah, that's devilly.
You should see my office. It's pretty miserable. I walk in there, I gotta wear salt shoes.
Oh man.
So I don't get corrupted.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. You gotta put on your special underwear of dexterity +3.
What?
Yeah.
They got crosses on them too.
To navigate. Yeah. You have your holy water and your whip.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I throw it in the air and it burns. Yeah. Actually, you can't take the cork off of it, otherwise it will just burn the atmosphere.
Yeah. It just dissolves. It's like it inflames into fire.
Isn't that that's like Castlevania. That's what happens when you throw the holy water.
That's exactly what happens.
I know.
It sounds like you need to clean up some of those cum rags in your room and
I should
clean up that cat hair with some tape and
some tape.
Yeah, stick it in.
I could just use a vacuum.
Yeah, you can use a vacuum. Dude, vacuum's a work of the devil. That's what that is.
You know why they call them dust devils, right?
Yeah. Yeah, dude. We already knew carpet munchers were against God, so carpet beaters are also against God too.
What if I have one that's like a manual vacuum? Like you put it on the ground, you crank it?
Yeah.
What if those exist?
The original, when I was watching the creation of the Hoover, it was just some guy that worked in some business, like a mall or something, cleaning rugs, and he was tired of every time he beat the rug, it would get dust in the air, and he had some sort of asthma or something. I don't know. Yeah. He didn't want breathing that shit all day was difficult. So he was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna make a contraption that auto beats the rug."
Yep.
And that is essentially and then it contains all of the dust.
Easy.
And then, boom, the vacuum is made.
Yep. And that's why space isn't real, because vacuum wasn't created till much later.
That's true. Yeah.
And so they say that there's a vacuum of space. That's wrong.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't believe anything science says.
So anyway,
I'm a skeptic.
You could call me a skeptic, dude. I've been all right. See this? See, look at my finger where the ring is.
Yeah, what's going on there, dude? The ring looks too tight.
It probably is. It's probably
you fat fingers, bro. What are you doing?
I don't know. I can take it on and off, so it's not that bad. But
yeah,
my wife's been like, "Why have you been moving it?" So I'm like, Look at how bad it looks. It looks like it's cutting into my finger.
Yeah, she's taking it like a personal, like, are you shifting it? Because symbolically, this is a metaphor for the wavering of our relationship.
Well, she's like, what, are you trying to, like, tan it underneath there so it doesn't look like you have a wedding ring? Like, no,
wow, that is something I would have never thought of.
See, look at that. You would have never thought of it. I didn't either.
Oh.
I was just like, I just don't want the ring to mold to my finger.
Your finger to grow and it looked like abnormally large, like
like
bloated
chunks.
Disgusting.
Yeah, no. But no, I've been, trying to keep track of that. I saw a guy who had like a ring on their finger for so long that it like started molding over. Like not mold as in like,
but like growing over. Yeah, like with it. Yeah.
And I'm like, well, if I get to that point, how do I undo it? So now I gotta like slide it back and forth.
Yeah, you just need a bigger ring, bro.
I think that's the real solution. Yeah.
Size up.
Yeah, I mean this is the second ring, so yeah. I should. The first one was too loose. This one's too tight. Maybe I just need to
find the balance.
Third.
Yeah. Oh,
the Goldilocks. Ring.
The Goldilocks ring. Yeah.
Then I'll be like, oh, finally.
Yeah. I guess it's something you don't really notice until you're wearing it for a lot of time, though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, I've been, I've had it on since
marriage. Yeah.
Married time.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, dude. I just wanted to bring that up.
Now that I think about it, and this is like maybe to go back to our roots a little bit. Do you think the ring is on the left hand for like a particular reason?
Oh, there is a reason. I just don't remember what it is.
Like, because most people are right-handed, right? And so your dominant hand, you're most likely to jerk off with. Do you think that it's on the left hand so you don't like think about your wife while you're?
You're like jacking off, and you look at. Oh, wait a second.
Yeah, what am I doing?
No, wait a second. I shouldn't do that.
Or like, I don't know.
You're cheating on your wife,
yeah.
And you're like, you look at your left hand, and you're like, oh, right.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have done this.
Or maybe like the cold metal of the ring stimulates as it runs under. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that, dude.
Something. So anyway,
I'm going back to the immature podcast. That's where I want to be.
That's where you want to go back.
Mm-hmm.
We had like so many philosophical.
No, we have not. We've been so far from philosophy. When I was listening through our podcast episodes, I was like, "Holy shit!"
I feel like sometimes there's like little sparks of like, wait. There's something there, and then it just gets ran over.
Oh, no, dude. We could totally pay somebody to do a supercut of our best moments.
Yeah.
When I'm listening to the episode, I often skip to the parts where we're laughing the most or, like, checking, or,
Yeah.
There are plenty of those moments that are really interesting.
I mean, like, not to
toot your horn.
Yeah, not to self-suck.
Yeah.
But, I do genuinely, so there are times where I laugh at the podcast just because of like I don't even remember like what's coming up, and then I hear him like, oh yeah, that was funny.
Sometimes I'm just impressed with the weird situations that we come up with and riff off each other about. That's what I find very interesting.
Yeah.
It's like a breeding ground for weird like we create characters and they suffer in whatever these little vignettes we create are. I like that. That's my favorite part about it.
It's a good time.
Yeah.
Do you know speaking of hands, dude.
Yeah, tell me
I just realized how big the callus is getting on my finger.
Oh, dude, is that from weightlifting?
It's weightlifting. It's from rowing, too.
Rowing?
Rowing.
From the machine?
Yeah, gotcha. Rowing machine.
I thought you picked up, like, oars and canoeing.
I'm just at home with an oar.
Rowing all day long. Yeah.
Got a little bathtub. I'm just gotta get some resistance in there.
You're like, man, I need to grow up as strong as the plants to suffer the wind. That's what I need to do.
Damn.
No, dude, that's great.
I can only imagine that, like, if you wanted to work out at home and all you did is rowing, like, water would become too easy to tread, and you'd have to move up to, like, industrial oils.
No, beyond that, it's just sand. You just have, like, 2 big buckets of sand.
Yeah.
You're trying to pull through it. Oh, man. You got, like, a kid trying to make a sandcastle. And then you, like, smack it with the oar and destroy it. And you're like, this is a great lesson for life, son.
The only thing that's real is rowing.
Don't build your foundations out of sand. Life is ephemeral. Keep moving. Row against the tide.
So anyway.
Your kid's like, I just wanted to play, like, Hop Frog or something.
I just wanted to play Frogger.
Yeah.
I came back in the year 2028.
Daddy, I want attention, not philosophical life lessons to make me stronger and callous my mind against the adversity that I seek in the future.
Sorry, Timmy, I gotta go to work.
Timmy, I'm working right now. Daddy's on his layaway program.
Layaway?
I like the idea of, like he's working from home, but he still wants to maintain the, like, he's on a business trip thing. He's got, like, his own fucking soundproof box. The kid keeps knocking on it. The dad's like, you're breaking my immersion, Timmy. He's like, the only way I can work is if I actually feel like I'm there.
Just thinking.
Yeah. He, like, regularly goes to strip clubs, so he, like, hired some prostitute to, like, come to a pole dance in his little cubicle outside.
What is this man? What does he do for a living?
He's a rower, and he also works in business logistics.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he answers phone calls about getting a bunch of truck drivers to truck, like, way too much over-consumed products.
Yeah.
To different places.
I need a box of fidget spinners delivered to Illinois by tomorrow.
And if it's even a minute late, then they mark it off and then just throw it into a dumpster because it's soiled, even if it's computer keyboards.
No, they throw them into the lake.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta, be real about that.
Yeah, they're like, this lake has too many mosquitoes. Why don't we just get rid of all the lakes? That's a great idea, LaShonda.
LaShonda. Thanks, LaShonda, for thinking that one.
I'm glad HR is coming up with these great ways to improve the life of all the employees, the family that we have here at Business Logistics 505.
The family?
Yeah.
Family
atmosphere.
Who came up with that? Who came up with that? Do you think it was probably good at some point, right?
Yeah, it had to be.
Right? Because, like, at some point somebody was like, you know what? Us who work at the drinky dink pub over here, we're family.
It's pretty funny. I was thinking about this concept a little bit, actually, today, because I started my book for my book club that's due Sunday. And I didn't do this out of procrastination, even though I'm sure some aspect of it is. I just did it because I wanted to be fresh in my mind when I go into the book club, rather than read it, like, over the long period of time. Which, I don't know, maybe I'll try changing up my strategy at some point. But in the first few chapters, it's, like, essentially the director leading a bunch of, like, starry-eyed students through the process of incubation and how, like, people are made in this dystopian future. Uh-huh. And rather than through procreation and sex, they're gone through this, like, assembly line of incubation where they take the, like, eggs and then they, like, subject them to a bunch of different things and, like, use, like, calf livers to, like, keep them alive and, like... And whatever, the whole process is, like, pretty interesting and funny, but the one, or maybe, the opposite of funny, like, dreadful to imagine that people would apply mass production to, like, biology in the future. Uh-huh. But something I find really funny. So the premise is that they, like, split the same people, like, a bunch of times, as many times as they can, and then have as many babies of the same clone, essentially. And then they condition them in a caste system, and then the caste system each has, like, whatever, they make them proficient for, like, work. So, for example, like, they subject the embryos that are, like, fertilized or whatever, when they're, like, they're in, like, a bottle, in the line, kind of like a conveyor belt. And if they're going to be like miners or something, they subject them to like cold temperatures so that they're like conditioned when they like become older to like hate the cold and stuff. And then they love the tropic of like the mines. And one of the conditioning processes, which I found was super funny, is in order to keep like the working class working, they subject them, they bring in a bunch of babies, and then they have like these beautiful books with like flowers, like a vase of flowers in front of it. And so they have the babies like walk up to the book and like play with it, and then like flowers, and then they immediately like play on the loudspeakers like a screeching horn that makes all the babies completely distressed, and then the floor is electric, and so they electrically shock all the babies so that they like essentially are like electrotherapy. Electrotherapy, whatever.
Therapize,
whatever. Therapize, to hate. I'm thinking like therapeutics and whatever. There's some other word I was trying to mix there.
To hate flowers.
So
nature.
To hate books so that they don't read to learn past their reflexes and preconditions. Because if they read, then they can expand their minds. So they want to make sure they hate books. And then one of the students asked, well, like, why the flowers? And so the director responds, well, we originally had them like nature and flowers in order to incentivize that they would buy more transportation and like vacation other places and stuff. But essentially like a love of nature is too free. And so now we need to make them hate nature, but we make them love sports in nature. So they have like a balance in order to make them consume enough, essentially, to be like perfect citizens. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's interesting. Because I think the company atmosphere, right, there's like different, when you're in a company, there, something I thought was pretty interesting recently is my cousin went to a McDonald's and he heard this like loud noise, and then one of the managers was yelling at a McDonald's employee to like wash their hands. And so I looked it up, and what happens is every 30 minutes in a McDonald's, a large horn will play unless somebody washes their hands. That's the only way to like turn it off, is for the employee to wash their hands. And so I was thinking about like,
what?
Yeah, there's like, they're really anal about them employees washing their hands. At least, I don't know if it's everywhere, but apparently, with the McDonald's he was at, that is something they do. They have like a horn that blares in order to remind them to wash their hands. And so you essentially condition your employees to be, it almost like, it seems like trauma to subject them to this like traumatic thing. Like, because it's like a negative reinforcement rather than a positive reinforcement.
Dude,
like,
every 30 minutes you gotta use antibacterial soap.
You gotta wash your hands. Oh. Yeah, they have like a sink washing station or something. I didn't have pictures of it, but the articles I read did explain that was why they have a horn, and that explains why the manager was yelling at the employee to like wash their hands, essentially like that. But it's weird because it's almost like it is a form of conditioning, some sort of Pavlovian conditioning for the employees to be in that atmosphere. And then, you know, I've also, like, the idea of a bunch of people that are confined in a space together or have to kind of work together as, like, a society or, like, a community, or on a smaller scale, like a family. So the idea of just taking that family concept and forcing it on people by subjecting them to, like, negative reinforcement is really funny to me. I don't know. I don't have any overarching thought about it other than, like, I think that family atmosphere might just be bonding based on the suffering that all these people are doing, and they decide to try to spin it like a positive way, to be like, oh, family's positive, we're gonna be your corporate amazing family, so when you come here it'll be just like being at home. And if the workspace is just like home, then maybe you'll like come here to work more often. Maybe you'll love working. Like, they just try to condition them to love working, I think.
I mean, like, I don't know, so like there's some of that kind of exists, right? I mean, like, I liked the guys that I was working with before. And if it wasn't like torture to work at the place I was working, it would have been fine. And
I'm sure there was more bonding because of the torture that you guys suffered.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. So maybe, you know, if they just toned it down a little bit, we would have been like a super squad.
Yeah, a super squad.
Yeah.
You'd be a perfect citizen.
I would, a
perfect working man.
I would have bought things. Yeah. And went places.
Yeah, I think often the thing, at least something, if I was running a company, the thing I would try to make sure the most is like people are volatile, or they can change, or the idea of the human component isn't as stationary for like predictive success would want it to dictate. So I would imagine that anything to try to curb the emotions of your employees, or curb their freedom, or essentially make them as efficiently predictable as possible, so that you can determine their output, so that you can like have foresight into the next quarter. Essentially, I would imagine that would be something that would just be incentivized based on the company system.
I think that probably exists. I'm sure there's a book where it's like how to run a major company.
But I don't think any. Yeah, I have books that are relating to different concepts like that on my shelf. I haven't read through all of them because some of them are just like horrible.
Oh yeah,
they're manipulative, like neuro-linguistic, chicanery that you have to use in order to manipulate people.
I think that you can go the opposite way as well, where you don't do that and you kind of are more personable. And I think people will try to take advantage of that, but you can negate that by being like, "Look, we're still here to run a company."
It's almost like a moral dilemma as well, because the idea is these people, even if you have to exploit them to a certain extent from a managerial level or a controller level, you're doing it in essence for the company to make money, and that money like ensures that they have their job, which is something that I'm sure most people working there would want to continue to persist. Yeah. So there has to be a give and take of evil and good when it comes to running a company, I imagine. Oh, yeah. Because you also want to secure the existence of the companies and, in essence, secure the existence of people paying jobs. And so that competitive aspect probably leads you to make some evil decisions as well as, one of my family members is a CEO of some company, and he talked about this concept of the gray mile. And it's there's this really long hallway. Like whenever somebody gets fired, they have to walk down this hallway to get out of the building. And so it's called like the gray mile because of how lengthy it is or something like that. But, the idea of firing somebody is in essence a moral question too sometimes, where if they're threatening the existence of other people's jobs because of their own incompetence, or if there's some HR scandal or something, then in essence like firing becomes necessary. Or sometimes you fire because they make too much money, or they mess up. I don't know, whatever the case. It is interesting to imagine.
You dislike the person.
Yeah, or you dislike the person.
There's a lot of reasons to hire. There's a lot of reasons to fire someone, which is weird.
Yeah. And the amount of legalese in place to prevent you from saying things wrong is absolutely dumb. Yeah. When I was hiring people, when I worked at the golf course, I don't know if I mentioned this on the podcast, but I had a joke question in my interview, which was like, are you afraid of time? And I said the word for it. It was like chronophobia or something like that. And after the interview, my higher-up boss said I can't ask that because it's like a medical question. And you can't like base hiring on... You can't a medical thing. And the joke is that they'd be staring at a clock for a long time because there's not much that happens. So that's why I asked if they were afraid of time or afraid of clocks. And I was like, that is the dumbest thing ever. He's like, legally we can't ask them whether or not they are afraid of time because it falls under the purview of like mental capability or something.
Oh my god.
I was like, this is the dumbest bullshit ever. I was just trying to make a joke.
I mean, like, Jesus. See, that kind of gets into a weird spot though, because like, what if there's certain jobs? I think that there's certain jobs where you can't have certain conditions, right? Yeah. Like, if you're a lumberjack, you probably got to have legs.
It's stupid.
It's like...
It is dumb like that because you can... the idea is you have to look at somebody and judge them without...
Yes, without actually using that.
Asking them.
Yeah.
Which is stupid because you're going to end up judging them anyways. Yeah. Based on... And I judge plenty of people based on the resume they sent in to begin with. So there's already been a judging process.
We've already...
If you didn't have the mental faculty to spell things correctly or be punctual, I inferred from that
you didn't really care.
That you weren't going to be somebody that was going to be like a proficient worker. Mm-hmm. That was my immediate judgment based on that. I probably would do it differently. I'd probably just schedule a bunch of interviews and talk to people because there are plenty of people that are competent but can't write at all. Yeah. For shit. Yeah. And I know that now, but when I was younger and a manager for some reason, that's what I don't know how I got that fucking role, but just doing that stuff. So yeah, it was the dumbest I hated dealing with any of that corporate. even it was the most lax hierarchical thing to deal with. I hated it. I recognize now the thing that I try to embody most with what I do is have the freedom to do what I want. And when I remember situations like that, I am grateful for the situation I'm in. Even if I'm as poor as possible or have no money, at least I don't have to deal with any of that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
At least until I become more interdependent and probably have employees or something. Because I do eventually want to have some sort of studio with people. Because I love the corporate atmosphere of like us sitting in a room and trying to make something. Mm-hmm. I don't like any of the bullshit HR or hiring practice, stuff.
I think that's how most people feel. Because like I feel similarly.
Yeah.
But the part that I hate the most is just paperwork garbage.
Yeah, paperwork.
Anything to do with like, tell me about my tax things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Don't even. Yeah, no.
I hate any of that. I would probably hire people specifically just to handle that process of it.
Well, you can
and then try to make it as lax as possible.
Oh yeah.
I mean, obviously you want to foster, I think, some sort of creative atmosphere for growth. And make sure that growth is disciplined in the sense that it'll get the work done. But I don't want it to be so overburdened by all of the unnecessary little tidbits of making your company as, perfect to the paper, to the T, whatever that is. Yeah, it's obnoxious.
So anyway.
Yeah, anyways.
What have you done?
What have I done? Well, I've been doing programming. I've honestly found a lot of inspiration recently, so I've been having fun with that. Yeah, creativity. I think I mentioned it last time, the 3 habits from the 7 Habits That Make You a Highly Effective Person book from Cowley. I don't have it with me right now. Yeah. But anyways, just look up 7 Habits. Is a pretty famous book. But defining where I want to go in life, and then defining some of my principles, and then defining what aspects that I want to embody has helped me a lot move forward with what I want to do. And I recognize that there is still some severance of the validation I find from others that I have to do. Mm-hmm. I often want to make things to please other people rather than please myself, but I find that I have more motivation to do things that I want to do that I know in the end, even if my brain in these moments doesn't believe it, will end up being what people want anyways. Yeah. Like, essentially, you have to serve others, but give them what they didn't know they wanted at the same time. Because if you just give into their expectations, it's never going to be exactly their expectation. You can't possibly please everyone.
All right. I was just listening to a podcast, and like I'm gonna get probably some of it wrong, but essentially there was a movie director, that was filming a movie which is now famous, and I can't remember the titles or the actors or the director, right? But essentially the director goes into a meeting with like corporate, with like the guys who are paying for the movie to be done, right? And the guy goes like, I hate the main actor, I hate this joke, I hate this joke, I hate that joke. And the director goes like, yeah, of course, oh yeah, no, me too, yeah, I hate all that, yeah, I'll take care of it. And then doesn't change anything about the movie, and the movie became famous. Yeah. So
it just, you have to take it's almost like you got to do what you think is right and then consider criticism, because criticism that it could be beneficial if there are things that impede your vision. If there are things that are just bugs or broken in, like, at least my line of work, then those are things I know that need to be fixed. And that criticism is completely warranted. But when it comes to people imposing their ideas as better than yours on you, that is what made me demotivated to do anything. It was trying to placate other people, essentially, instead of doing the thing that I wanted to do. And then in trying to do the things that they wanted me to do, I'd end up just doing things I wanted to do anyways, but I wasn't conscious of it. I wasn't aware of that's exactly what was happening. So now that I've identified the problem and the idea of that I'm in essence, I was trying to seek validation from other people rather than the validation from being creative, which is what I'm trying to rewire myself for now. So that has helped me a lot. I've been enjoying programming a lot more. In my brain now, when I'm doing other things, rather than like, it's really funny, it completely switched. Rather than my brain giving me cues to like distract myself and do other things and build up a bunch of resistance to doing art, now my brain like constantly wants to do art.
That's cool.
Like if I am doing anything else, my brain's like, no, we gotta go program, or we gotta make this. Like, here's an idea for this. So it's really funny. It's like a complete 180. But the desk has helped as well. The having the cleaner workspace.
Yeah.
And then having, like, it's the little things you don't notice in your environment. Like, if your desk is too high, your, like, hands kind of get tired when you're typing over long periods of time. Mm-hmm. Those are things you don't learn until you're in the space working with it, and then you try to ascertain, okay, these are the problems with my workspace. These are the things preventing me from doing what I want to do. But I guess the best way to explain this in the shortest way possible, a lot of self-help YouTubers talk about this, is if you want to get anything done, you have to essentially build it to be the path of least resistance. Mm-hmm. And the best example is, if you want to play more guitar, don't store your guitar in a closet. Store it somewhere where you can see it. Because the less resistance there is in you doing that thing, then the more like you are to do it. And the same thing is for a clean workspace. Like, if you want to work in your space, you have to make sure the resistance to doing that is as small as possible. And so things like a crooked desk or shit on everywhere in the way, or like you not being able to sit down and have that peace of mind to do it. Like, all those things get in the way of you doing it. So
yeah.
Obviously, you probably already know aspects of it, but
yeah,
I reiterate this both for myself
and for everyone else.
Yeah, and as like a teaching thing, because it is really useful information.
Yeah, whenever I first moved into my house, I looked up like every single possible thing on like how to do preferred posture and how to set up your chair and desk, so that way, like, I don't do a lot of work at my desk, most for playing video games junk, but I was like, if I just get this all ready here now, I'll have it, and I don't need to think about this. Like, I won't be crooked or anything. I'll just be like, feng shui almost.
And it's funny with the feng shui, the opposite is also true. Like, if there's something you want to prevent yourself from doing, you can increase the resistance to doing it. If for whatever reason, you like eating a particular food and that food is bad, then you can increase your resistance to getting it. Like, increase obstacles in your way.
Yeah.
You could lock it in a bunch of boxes or something, like whatever. Or just throw it away. Yeah.
I kind of do that. I just put them like in the pantry behind something.
Yeah, and then you don't want to go through the work.
Yeah, well, like, I don't even want to open... the pantry's too far away. I'll just get some more water or something,
It's very funny. So yeah, I've honestly been having a lot of fun lately. I didn't. I have like a general deadline at the end of every month to get the next update out, and even if I miss it now, I'm not particularly worried about it because I feel like I'm moving somewhere.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah, I've never found. So like whenever I was making my website, I would be like, I need to get this done and this done today, and like I remember there was like a day where I got almost everything done, and I was like ahead of the list. And then, like, I just didn't want to do the rest of it. Just because it was something I didn't, like, really want to do, was, like, type 3,000 words about my company and junk. And I was like, I think, like, deadlines help because you need to get things done at some point. But at the same time, like, with the deadlines, they were pretty much useless for some of the stuff. But for the rest of it, is just garbage. I don't know what I'm trying to get at here.
No,
but,
I actually watched a TED Talk from I can't remember the man's name, but he is the main writer of Wait But Why, which is a blog I used to read a long time ago. And I'd never seen his TED Talk, but it's actually really funny. I'll send it to you later. But essentially he talks about the difference. It's essentially instant gratification versus like long-term investment of like doing stuff. But he talks about it in a really funny way because he creates this character of like, you have a smart person in your brain, and then you have like an instant gratification monkey, and then there's like a wheel. And so like sometimes the monkey will like just take the wheel and be like, oh, we need to go look at like Justin Bieber's life story on Wikipedia. And then it's like, wait, we don't really understand how like weather pattern systems work. Could Bill Gates actually manipulate those? We have to go check that out. And then you're like, well, I have a paper that needs to be due. And it's like, well, but maybe we need to focus on doing research on this particular aspect of thermodynamic energy in order to figure out how we can write our, like, it's just like, and then so he talks about the concept of how sometimes deadlines help people understand that, oh, I only have a limited amount of time, and you like push the monkey out of the way temporarily to focus on the thing that you're doing. So I do think, I think it depending on how you live your life, you could find value in having deadlines for, oh, I want to get this done by this date, or oh, I want to do this. But in the end, I do think a lot of it comes down to the prioritization. I think most often my lack of discipline has been because I've been terrible at prioritizing things. And I've been focusing on the things that are urgent and important, and this is from the 7 Habits book as well, or the 7 Effective People Habits. But you have to focus on things that are important but not urgent. Because if you focus on everything that's a crisis situation, then you're not building the padding that you could have in the future for being able to deal with the crisis situations, essentially. It's essentially, or, you know, he has an interesting graph. I'll talk about it at a different date, but...
Yeah. I see.
Yeah, I do think sometimes it is hard to focus when you feel like you have a bunch of time, but when you quantify that time into something understandable, like, oh, I only have this many days of this year, or I only have this many days of this month, and like, who do I want to be when 3 months have passed? Who do I want to, and then you quantify those days, like having a calendar or something to mark off. Like, when you actually math out how many days, if you live to the average life expectancy of 70, you don't really have that many days. And so if you have things you want to get done, that I think that understanding and conceptualization helps you be aware of time passing more. Not to stress yourself out with the concept of time always, because I do think there's a benefit in being present-mindedness and not focused on the past and the future all the time. And in this case, the future. But I think a balance is necessary.
Oh, yeah. No, I think, actually, I'm a contrarian. I think that you shouldn't have balance in your life. I think you should just do one thing or the other.
Yeah, you should just move the fulcrum all the way to one side.
Yeah. Don't do thing A, only do thing B, actually.
Whatever path has the least amount of obstacles, that's the one you need to go on. Because your life is going to be so much more fulfilling.
You'll be able to do nothing.
Nothing at all.
And you'll feel pretty miserable about it.
Yeah.
That's weird that we have that built in, like baked in. Like you
the like of suffering, you mean?
The like the idea of like, oh hey, I didn't accomplish anything the other day, and I feel kind of miserable about it. Like the fact that like your brain is like, hey bud, you kind of took a day off yesterday, and I'm going to guilt you about it just a little.
You know, I do think the societal implications of that, there is both the nature aspect biologically. I think we need to do things that are difficult in order to feel some sort of value or balance.
Yeah.
Or like solve problems. I think solving problems makes people feel rewarded in different ways, or content rather. But I also believe that there is some sort of nurture aspect of society imposing on this constant need to be on a grind, this constant need to be doing something productive. And that productivity in society's eyes is spending money and making money to spend money.
That's right. Yeah.
It's like you can get your energy drink that'll allow you to work for another 18 hours past the time where you should go to bed. Like, dude, thank you. 5-hour energy. You're saving so much time.
I remember seeing an ad for 5-hour energy, and it was like, it's a free cup of coffee in the middle of the day. It's an extra. It's not taking a nap at 3:00. It's like, maybe you should take the nap at 3:00.
Yeah, maybe the nap would make you feel more refreshed and energetic to do the work that you need to do. But they're like, no, just drug yourself with more caffeine.
Are you vibrating? No? Have a 5-hour energy.
It's literally like that. This is constant need to keep pushing yourself beyond the point where you're just like a corpse zombie. And I've often find it really funny because in some ways I've been also focusing on meditation, and I've even had a few naps, which I've never done before.
Oh, yeah?
Like just napping at different points. And I feel more energized to do stuff after that point, which is very funny to me.
Let me ask, how long have you napped?
For usually about 20 to 30 minutes.
Okay, there's a sweet spot in there.
Yeah.
And if I go, for me personally, I feel miserable after a nap. If I go over like, if I go over 20 minutes, it's risking it.
Yeah.
I'll feel like I'll wake up and I'll have so much, what's the sleepy...
Like REM?
Serotonin.
Oh, yes.
I'll have so much serotonin in my body. I'll just be like, the only option, I can't think straight. I can't like do anything. It might be
melatonin or something too, right? Isn't that what happens when you sleep?
Maybe one of the two.
Okay.
The sleepy whatever.
Sleepy chemical, yeah.
Yeah. So like I'll wake up, like let's say I take a nap at like 3:00. I'll wake up at like 3:30-ish, and I'll get up and be like, the only options right now are to go back to bed because I can't think straight. I can't do things now. Yeah. I need to like continue to get my 8-ish, 7-ish hours to actually feel normal. So like naps, I can do 15 minutes. If I set a timer for 15 minutes, fall asleep and wake up, if I get like 10, 15, I'm good. But if I go over, it's just devastating. It's like the whole day's garbage now.
It's weird to me. I don't ever set alarms. Sometimes I just go to meditate, or sometimes after eating food, I feel tired, and so I'll just nap for a short amount of time. And my body just wakes up after a certain period of time, and I'm like, okay, that's all we needed. Whatever, back to the grind, I guess. I've also been trying to balance, because I noticed that I have a lot more focus, which is something we've talked about on the podcast when I'm fasting. Mm-hmm. I haven't eaten anything today, and I do feel more focused, but I notice I'm stuttering quite a bit, and I don't know why that is. I think I'm trying to censor my words, because I notice I say like a lot in our previous podcast, and so I want to say things more thoughtfully as I go through the process of speaking.
Like isn't a bad word.
I don't think it's bad. It's just a comma, or sometimes it's a crutch word for me. Mm-hmm. And I know I have a larger vocabulary than I'm using currently, because I eventually want to write books. Okay. And I want to make sure that I'm using words. I don't want to be like a cringe, pretentious asshole about it. I just want to also speak more confidently.
See, but like, okay, for me personally, like writing and talking out loud, completely different. If I have a second to think, it's a completely different person almost. Whereas like whenever I talk, I'm going to say like, because it gives me a second to go like, all right, I thought of the next word.
Yeah, I do think it essentially gives you the pause you need.
Yes. And it's a free word. It's free. Free use on that one.
It's as well as or things like that nature.
Or things like that.
That. In that like nature.
Yeah.
I do think it gives me time to think, but I also think just pausing and taking time to collect thoughts also works.
Yeah.
It has a different ring to it. Now that just sounds retarded.
Sounds weird. You're like,
when I do it unrealistically, it doesn't work.
You sound like an old man that like was a narrator, and so the book was written.
And Timmy ascended to his father on his penultimate throne as he oared away into the buckets of sand and the dimmering in daylight, and asked his father, "Father, would you play with me, please?" To which his father replied, "No, son. I'm a businessman today."
Timmy's father played every day as a businessman.
Timmy, noticing the nuance and hypocriticalness in his father's demeanor, slunk away dejectedly into the cave.
They live in a
Why
cave.
Is my father like this? Timmy prayed into his hands to a god he didn't know existed or not. Seeking an answer, Timmy turned, looking upwardly into the moonlight. Will my father ever recognize the need for play in the balance of humanity?
Will my father realize he's been playing the entire time?
He's simply taken on, puppeted by forces outside of his control, scripts left in from a bygone era of his Gen X generation. His parents inoculated him with the need to make money. Will he ever realize?
His parents didn't know that not playing would cause him to not play with his children as well. I don't know.
No play a day makes Jack a dull boy, or something, whatever that line is.
Makes dad a dull dad. So anyway. Yeah. No, dude, we should just narrate like an entire book.
I really think riffing off each other, we could come up with some sort of plot line and then go back and look over it and then edit it a little bit and just release it.
There you go. I think we could just write a book. Why not just write a book?
Yeah, I have been itching to write a book. I have a book that's been in progress for multiple years, and I write little slivers of it each time. But at a certain, like when I started it, it was originally supposed to be a reply message to somebody. We used to write letters to each other, and then I've just fallen off that. Originally I felt, as I grow older, I'm like, man, I don't want to talk about myself as much anymore. I want to talk about concepts or things or philosophical ideas or things I've learned. And so I've been trying to figure out how to write something that doesn't sound pretentious or egotistically focused on my life and my things, but it was supposed to be a letter and reply, like catching up of like, hey, here's what I've done lately. So there's like a balance I need to figure there.
You just start a letter with like, have you ever thought about the number infinity? Just start a concept.
I try to excise as many I's as possible. I don't start any sentence with I just start it with weird philosophical concepts.
They write back like, yeah, I've been good.
Yeah. Yeah, the first 5 chapters are like dopamine detoxing. It's like, all right, so then I pulled out my welcome mat, right? And I'm balls deep in this chick. And I'm trying to keep myself from exploding and ensuring the cyclical nature of procreation. So I grind my heel into the welcome mat. Look down at the welcome, the live, laugh, love emblazoned in the welcome mat.
But I realized that my feet have been numb because I stopped wearing shoes.
Yeah. They've been calloused against the cement of the concrete jungle that I've been living in.
Man, society's a bitch. I say out loud as I bust my load.
As I thrust to completion. My girl says, what the fuck? In mumbled breath. Baby, I'm trying to defeat the ego.
I tried to hit the taint puncher I installed under my bed, but it was too late.
Yeah, too late.
Just like...
The finger locking technique didn't work.
This is what our book is about.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to do writing a book. I always thought murder mysteries are really cool, and I never know how people actually write those because it seems, to me, I would want to give too many clues, and I think that would be too... I want to give clues, right? So that way people can go like, oh, maybe it's that, oh, this little evidence, but I always thought about like, how do you write the clues to where they're not obvious?
Yeah, you almost want to, that's something I deal with when I do the game stuff. I want people to beta test levels because I think something, oh, this is easy for me, but then it's hard for somebody that had 800 hours into it. But I'm sure the same thing is for writing, right? You have your beta tester readers.
Yeah.
Because you also want to value their dignity and their ability to ascertain, oh, this is foreshadowing. But then you don't want to be so... like simpleton mind or mid-witted, because then you're just going to they're going to feel like children.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're so obviously spoon feeding me this thing that's going to happen.
Yeah.
That it's just blatant and boring. Actually, that is an interesting problem to think about. I have not thought about that before.
I've always thought about it because like I remember like my cousin, actually I was on vacation. My cousin was up there and she was reading a murder mystery and I was like asking her questions about them. Like because, like, I couldn't even imagine how I would even start writing a murder mystery, right? Do you start at the end and go, like, this guy did it, but how do we get the story before that? Or do you go, here's, like, a story, and then maybe I'll make up the ending and then, like, throw some clues in later? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Do you focus on a story and, like, make something interesting in, like, a world that you've created? Or, it's... I don't know.
I think if I were to base it off of my public school teaching, they would probably suggest something like writing an outline and figuring out where to go from that. But I don't think that's the smart idea. I think having a premise for the twist of what you want to have, the thing you want to obfuscate, being identified as early as possible. What are you trying to hide? Is it that dramatic twist or turn? Is it just some sort of like the least expected character possible? Is it something that people wouldn't expect if it wasn't given to them? And then I think over time, as like you probably would define, at least the way I logically would do it, is I would define more obscure examples, and then I would ramp up the ease of understanding that later. Because as the book goes on, you want progressionally them to be able to understand the twist probably most when it's right about to happen. That's what I would imagine. That's how I would do it. I'd pull away the curtain of whatever I'm trying to cover slowly over the course of time, but exponentially as it goes.
I gotcha.
Yeah, and then reveal.
But I mean, how do you do that?
Yeah, with text it's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to... Yeah, I mean, like, I haven't written a book, so maybe if I started writing, maybe it would be like... Oh, right.
Something interesting that I've carried with me, when I went to college, I did my Intro to Game Development course in Python, and the way it started making sense to me and clicking was that all of the different data types and things in programming that you learn are essentially tools that you can use to solve the same problem. You can solve any problem in programming a multitude different ways. It's the same as math, right? Because in math, you could get to 4 by doing 2 plus 2, or you could do 1 plus 3, or you could do something more convoluted with division or
1.5?
Anything. All those convoluted different ways to get to 4. And so programming is a lot like that. And then I think that ability of having a toolbox, the mental metaphor, has transitioned with me later in life too, because as I think about writing, there are certain tools in writing that you can learn as well. A simple one would be, if you want something to feel action-packed, you use a lot of short, blunt words really fast in succession. Or if you want to communicate details from a character about another character, you could do something direct. Like the character could be like, I hate Sally. Or you could be it more indirectly. A tool is that you can have them mock Sally by pretending to be Sally. And then when they mock Sally, they could, in essence, talk about the different aspects that they criticize about Sally, which is them projecting in different ways too. And then that can give you insight both into Sally, what they think about Sally, as well as their own character and their relationship to Sally. And then so as you learn these tools of, okay, you can mock, you could talk to other characters, you could monologue, you could have a soliloquy in your head, like all of these. Essentially, with any medium, I think you just learn the tools of how to express yourself, and then you figure out, oh, like, the tool that I'm going to use to pull apart the curtain is going to be foreshadowing. Like, Sally walked out on this beautiful day, but suddenly things were turning dark when the banana peel lingering below her feet, unnoticed by her eyes. Like, that sort of, like, that foreshadowing is a tool that you could use to begin to pull back the curtain.
But I mean, like, you just gave me an idea of exactly how I would want the murder mystery to go. I would want, at the very beginning, you have your main character. The main character kind of, like, goes like, oh, there's a murder. And then, like, the first person that they run across, they just go like, man, I just have a really bad feeling about that person. And then you give no other details about that. And then, like, you give them all these other characters that are like, oh, that guy's really suspicious.
Yeah.
And, like, it just never.
It's essentially like Snape and Harry Potter. Everybody's like, man, Snape is, like, kind of a fucking weird incel. Yeah. I don't really like him. He's kind of like a cunt.
Yeah.
So I do think when it comes to any medium, all it takes is obviously writing, like you said, getting into writing, and then also learning the tools of writing, how people express different concepts, whether it's words or dialogue or situations or settings or different grammar and syntax, like all of that contributes to the wider whole. And then it's the same thing I do with video game design too, because I try to imagine myself as the player. And then I imagine going through this based on having general knowledge of video games and what to expect. And then also what to expect in the context of the levels that they've had before. And whether or not, like, how they'll anticipate based on those levels. And so sometimes I can force a player's belief based on the previous level. If I've built up trust with them, then I know that I can do something devious in the next level, and they will expect it less because of the trust I've built up by being more consistent with the level and the things that they've expected.
Yeah.
And so, like, if I'm like, okay, here's an enemy, and I have it work the same way every time, you can build trust, and then they feel like they have grounding. But then if I introduce an enemy that has more randomness into it, then I've destroyed that aspect of trust, and the consistency is lost. So I think you think about these things probably more subconsciously, but you can make them more overtly consciously as you play with them.
Oh, I mean, even like just the fact that we're talking about that now, it's in your conscious somewhat to go like, oh, I should do that. You know, so it's like, Yeah.
Yeah. So when I was commissioned for my first commission, one of the things that they wanted me to focus on the most was to have, I forget how he described it, but he wanted that big moment where I essentially, they think they've won, but they haven't. Yeah. He wanted me to make a level that embodied that aspect. And so I gave them the boss with the 3 health, and then after you destroy the 3 health, the boss plays dead, and you think he's done, and then after you literally complete and think, oh, I'm done, and jump off into the water to go to the next level, then the boss revives with 1 health and pulls your ass back to the beginning, completely subverting your expectation of survival. So there are things, yeah, like the expectation of, oh, the boss is dead, he's on the ground, I've succeeded.
I finally won.
And then you rip him back into the reality of, no, it's not done yet.
Go back.
He was just sleeping. Oh, man.
But yeah. Dude, speaking of video games.
Yeah.
I beat that Zelda.
Oh, the new one?
Yeah.
And what did you think about it?
It was a pretty good game.
Yeah?
It's really fun. It's a lot of fun with that game.
Yeah, why don't you tell me more about it?
You can play the game. It's good. The thing that I recognized is, like, I felt like I was just kind of speedrunning it towards the end. I wanted to just do all the shrines and then, like, all right, boss time to win. Because, like, I didn't even have the mental fortitude. I just didn't even want to, like, upgrade armor or do anything that was optional at all.
Was it boring?
Not really. Maybe a little. I mean, like, some of the grinding is, right? There's, like, parts where you gotta go, like, if I wanted to upgrade my armor, I have to go and shoot a dragon every 2 minutes for, like, a half hour, which doesn't sound terrible, but it's just, like, I'd rather run around and do stuff for that time, you know? I don't know. But anyways, it was a good game. I beat it. And then I played Pikmin 4 demo.
Okay.
Have you ever played Pikmin?
No, I've not.
There's something so good for my brain in that game. Just like we were talking about earlier with the game we were just talking about earlier before we started the podcast.
Cruelty Squad? Yeah.
Cruelty Squad. There's something about that that makes my brain go like, yeah, you need to do that for like 40 hours now. Just go ahead and never stop doing that. And so, yeah, Pikmin though. Good.
Yeah, you got the required threshold of dopamine hits.
Yeah, pretty much.
From succeeding and completing objectives in that game.
It's just, yeah, and it's really satisfying to do, to see like a bunch of it. I think what it is it's the planning and the execution of like your plan and stuff like that feels really, really good. Yeah. And I think Cruelty Squad, which is, even though it's a first person shooter, all the enemies start in the same spot. So it's like, I already started going like, okay, on this map, there's a guy there, I need to go here and shoot these guys, and then that'll attract all the enemies to this area. And it's like, oh, okay, I think I'm finding out that I just really like organized whatever.
I just like logistics and planning.
Oh, yeah. So, but, you know, playing Pikmin and then like I was playing the demo, I beat it, and they only let you do a certain amount of things, but you can do so there's like days. So once you get up to a certain threshold of points during a day, you have to you're done. Okay. So in Pikmin the demo, I basically restarted, plotted it so I would get just below the threshold of points needed to restart, went to a day, and then cleared everything all in one day. And I'm like, yeah, that's it. I want to do that for every real mission whenever the game comes out.
Yeah, so essentially you created the new challenge or the most efficient method for beating the level.
Yeah. I don't know, dude.
Now, did you feel that when you were playing the new Zelda game that you were just doing things to do them so that you could add it to your completed chart and you weren't really enjoying the game, or what?
Towards the end a little bit, yeah. I should have just beat the game before then. I mean, I enjoy... I do like having the full, like, everything done, you know what I mean? To go like, yeah, I have it. We're good. You know, but I think with the Pikmin, there's more replayability. I don't even know what I'm talking about. I just brought this up.
It doesn't matter. You want to talk about video games? I've been playing Cruelty Squad myself.
Yeah.
Which is why I mentioned it to you, because, man, that game is a fucking blast.
Yeah.
It is so good. It is an assault on the eyes and the ears, and I love every aspect of it. It is one of those games that demand my attention so much that I'll go through the effort of closing YouTube. I'll just keep one screen on. I turn off the lights, man. I want to be in the fucking zone when I'm playing that game, and I love it. Even without taking all the time to explore all the maps in depth, I'm just trying to get through to see every aspect of the game.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna fucking spend every goddamn moment just trying to peek into all the secrets and find all the. Oh man, it's such a good time. I hate the menus, but I also love them because they're so convoluted. Every menu is made to be antagonistically hard to look at.
Yeah. The thing is with it is it's good to it feels good at the same time that it feels terrible because you're so used to your menus being nice and simple-ish, and then this game with wobbly PS1 graphics is hey, look, here's a disgusting texture that you have to click on.
Horrible color palettes. It is the worst color palette ever. It is an assault. A chaotic assault of the eyes. And I love when you get into a level and the fucking industrial music kicks in and you hear all these weird fucking noises like you're in a nightmare. Oh my goodness.
Dude, and all the footsteps are so loud.
Oh man.
I'm there's a guy around here somewhere, but
Dude, when you get to the later levels with the giant cop mechs, they have this very distinct sound. And the second they fucking target you because the sound perfectly I could be halfway across the map and faintly hear the noise and go, oh fuck, every time, because you're in the mall and you have to take out this political leader or something, and I have this whole route that I've mapped out from meticulously trying to find it to avoid all of these fucking bionic giant cop guys that can only be killed with multiple rocket launcher hits. Basically, your guns do absolutely nothing to them, and they just gun you down with Gatling guns, but. Every single time I'm pathing away and I'm trying to sneak through the mall, I'll hear this distinct noise, and I know in 5 minutes that fucker is gonna be breathing down my neck with both guns aimed at me, firing relentlessly. Because as soon as they target you, they path all the way across the map to get you. It's insane. It's amazing. I absolutely adore it. I love when my adrenaline kicks in the second I hear it. I gotta be fast.
Oh god.
Or you start going through the vents and there's these little rat type things that poison you with toxic.
I hate those.
Oh my god, they're impossible to hit and they warp your view. So you can't shoot them. Oh my god.
Have you taken random pills?
Yes, yeah.
That's how I think I crashed the game. Or well, not really. Actually, I found a glitch. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, the police level. There's a bunch of doors that are for tiny people.
Yeah,
and I think you have to take pills to get. Small to go through them.
I think what happened is I took a pill the same time I was opening and closing a door, and so I think it was one of the ones that's supposed to shrink you, but it only shrunk me halfway because I closed the door on myself.
Ah, gotcha.
And so I was okay.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time in the cop level, but I didn't make much progress because I couldn't figure out where the boss or the guy I needed to kill was. It was that big cube looking boss.
The bounce house guy.
Yeah, the bounce house. Yeah, it took me a long time to figure out where he was. And then I kept running into weird drugs that would flip me completely upside down and make the map. It was wild. It was crazy.
I just got the ones that puke on the floor.
Yeah, there's one that completely flips your gravity so that you're walking on the ceiling, and then everything else is still normal gravity. And so, it's hard to traverse the map at that point. It's bizarre.
Jesus.
But I love it, man. I want to make something like that next. I'm going to load up Godot and fucking make a first-person shooter. I love the progression. I love the assault. I love how distinctly horrifying it is. I love the theme, the dystopian corporatocracy type thing.
The anxiety.
Yeah, I gotta learn how to make that music. I absolutely adore it. I love it. That PS1 bullshit. All the guns are hella accurate. I love that.
Yeah.
I love being able to pick up a gun and expect something.
That's the Doom. I mean, that's Doom, right?
It is like Doom and Ghost Recon. Is the best way I would put it. On crack.
Yeah.
With schizo stuff. It's amazing.
Oh,
God.
God.
Man. I subscribe to that guy's YouTube channel. I'm going to fucking buy anything he ever makes. He apparently made a bunch of art projects before this. And he was like, man, I can convert all these art projects into a video game. And so he just took a bunch of his art projects and made a video game, basically.
Damn.
And that's what came of it. So I don't think he's originally a developer by trade. He's just a creative individual.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
That's cool.
I love that. It is disgusting in so many different ways, but I enjoy it.
Jesus.
It kind of reminds me of what I would imagine part of Sam Hyde's vision is for his future dystopian cyberpunk type game that he wants to make. Because when I see the humor and the way that they reference almost like old 90s type stuff in different ways, I get that.
It's
aspect.
The whole, all the like ancient graphics of like
early internet
90s.
All that. It's almost, it reminds me of the vaporwave movement too, all kind of coming together in its own way. It's amazing. I love it. And the game's fun, which you know.
I mean, that's all I really...
I've played a lot of oppressive art projects that aren't fun to play. And this one is a blast to play.
Yeah.
I love... man, it is great. I actually, something I was thinking about recently, we can transition in this a little bit. Because I've thought a lot about a lot of the content that I consume on YouTube. Really, when I generalize it down to the most categorically small, narrow point, it's just people complaining. Or it's even beyond that, it's negativity. Mm-hmm. It is somebody like reciting a story of somebody's life and all the horrible drama that happened in it. Or it's them being dramatic. Or it's, and there is a huge focus on misery, I think, in the modern day. And I think some of that's probably brought on by cynicism and nihilism. But what I was thinking about recently is something I want to do, which I think I'm going to start doing, is just talk about all the things I like. Because I don't think there's a lot of videos of people talking about just really enjoying something. Mm-hmm. Like, I've seen hours of videos of people, like, tearing a book apart and criticizing it and talking about, like, a terrible game or something. But when you try to find the beauty or the good things in things, I don't see that very often. Yeah. So I think it may just be the algorithm
I think that's
of YouTube. Because I do click on these things, but sometimes it's not things like that. Like, you sent me that video recently of that guy that was like, it was like a 4 or 6 hour video talking about this Japanese series of games of this kid just living his life. I forget. Oh yeah. And that is like a guy talking about something he likes for a really long period of time.
That's all of his videos.
Yeah. And I don't get enough people like that. I think it's probably my algorithm and the stuff I click on. But I definitely think I want to be an antidote to that and make more things that are just me talking about things. Because there's so many things I consume that I love and I absolutely adore. Like Cruelty Squad. I know Pyrocynical made a 4-hour video about it, but I bet I could get, another perspective of just a 10 to 30 minute video of me just waxing poetic about the things I like about it. Yeah. Oh, man.
Jesus. Yeah, no, I mean, like, see, like, on mine, I have mostly, like, puzzle games that I'm never going to play, and then that's the podcast.
On your YouTube, really?
Oh, yeah.
My YouTube is I would say, depending on the season, a lot of Rust videos, because I'm fascinated with watching Rust videos. I get the dopamine surge from watching other people complete or succeed.
Yeah.
So seeing them overcome their adversity, I enjoy. It's kind of like a fake story, too, because it's just like a virtual aspect of simulated competitiveness. Yeah. So there's that. Sometimes it's like weird, obscure games that I like to look at. Sometimes I like game design stuff, but I also hate it because sometimes people make like stuff that is bizarre.
Do you ever, I mean, like, I get this because like whenever people talk about like robot programming and like they're in a YouTube video, it's cringe. Yeah. I listen to them and I'm like, you're cringe. Stop. Like, I could do this with this or whatever.
Sometimes it's like that with me with the game design stuff. I recently got recommended a video from the guy. I don't remember his name. It's like David Stitch or something like that. He's the guy that created Salad Fingers. And I didn't realize it, but he had a video. It was very short. and it was about the games that he made when he was younger. Because he used he didn't make Flash games. He used some sort of program called Game Studio or something like that, which is a bunch of visual type programming, not actually typing code.
Yeah.
And he made a bunch of very edgy, like teenager type games, which. One of my first games was literally just like pooping into a toilet. That was the whole game.
That's excellent.
Yeah, and I fully understand that like immature need for creativity. And he made a bunch of really interesting games that are all terrible in their own beautiful ways.
Is it Game Dev Tycoon?
No, it is not Game Dev Tycoon. It is it's like Game Forge or something like that. It's Game Studio. I don't know. It's weird. It has like a grid of like buttons, and you like turn them on or off
based for certain things.
Yeah, for certain things.
Oh, God.
It's really weird.
I had like one that was like it was like Game Dev Tycoon Gold.
Yeah,
and Platinum.
I played that when I was younger too.
Okay,
it was like a fake 3D environment, and then you would put all the shit in
whatever
there.
you want.
Yeah. I played that when I was younger too.
I just made a bunch of racing games. Yeah. That's all
It didn't have as much freedom as the program that he used. It has, because it almost has like a level of Game Maker Studio. When I first started, originally had drag and drop type programming, and it reminds me of that. It's not totally like that. What is that? Oh man, I can't remember the name of that. I got the image in my mind. It's like a bird or a monkey or something. It's a terrible drag and drop language. Oh my God, I can't remember it.
Oh,
Factory something. Oh no.
No, I've worked with them. The drag and drop.
Construct, that's what I'm thinking.
Sure,
of.
yeah,
that one.
I've worked with ones that are similar.
Yeah,
and like those are they're always kind of like weak.
I also, when I used to go to summer camps when I was younger, and I remember doing a summer camp for HTML web programming, and it was horrible. I hated it so much that I just spent all of the time, because the teacher had mentioned a program called Alice. I'm not even sure it exists anymore, but it was essentially a drag and drop animation program. And so I would go into Alice and make all these like wild animations. And I'm sure I still have them on a flash drive somewhere.
Yeah.
But and I'll try to find them at some point. But it was just, I would make all these animations where I'd be like, okay, I want this to move forward, then I want this to happen, then I want this effect to play. And you could make like essentially kind of campy animations using a drag and drop thing. But anyways, the Salad Fingers guy had a bunch of these really interesting, like bizarre, edgy games. I wish my backlog of things I've created is as large as all of these weird, strange designs that this man has made. But something I liked about it, hearing his design stuff, was he was kind of just showcasing some of the things. He wasn't necessarily... The things that make me cringe about the game design is when they try to appeal to some sort of underlying fundamental thing that breaks the creativity aspect of it. Just seeing somebody talk about the things they've made is interesting to me. But seeing somebody talk about the... Like, here's how... I don't know how to explain it. It's like, here's why I did this specific thing, because I really like Zelda, and so I'm going to make a Zelda clone, and the Zelda clone is going to be uninventive and uninteresting, or...
Yeah.
You know, that was... That game, you asked me how I liked it, the Necess game recently. It's essentially a mix between... It's like top-down Terraria, but if you excised and removed every aspect of personality from the game.
Okay.
That's what it's like. And the color palette is kind of grim and dull-looking. I haven't gotten deep enough into the settlement aspects of it, but it really almost feels like a lifeless game in so many bizarre ways.
Well, you know, like, so there's certain things where it's like, I think stealing other people's ideas and improving on them is like a really good way to find something.
Perfect. Yeah, it's a great way to learn.
So this guy, he has like a game that's Terraria, and then he was like, I really like RimWorld types. I like colony survival as well. So why don't I make my own version of that? And so like that's obviously what the direction of it was.
And I don't want to complain about it, because I have put like 6 or 7 hours into it, and I probably will put more time into it. There's just either something not clicking with me, there's like a lack of the personality in there, or some of the systems just aren't fleshed out enough. Like, you have this really interesting inventory system with a bunch of bags, but they're all kind of annoying to get into and in and out of, because you have to, like, open up your inventory, then open a bag in your inventory, and that's stupid. I don't like that aspect of it.
Yeah, I already don't like that.
Yeah, and then mining is, like, kind of boring, but I know that you can get settlement people that can do that for you. So I wonder if there's a balance between the automation process but then I want to explore, and so I went to like the dungeons to try to explore, but they're boring. There's not much in there. You get like furniture pieces, and they have weapons, but then I'm like, well, what's the fucking point? Like, I'm gonna spawn bosses, I'm gonna kill them. I guess it's kind of like Terraria, but it's also not at the same time. It's Terraria has an aspect of like personality, and it's not just range weapons, and I don't know how to explain it. It's really bizarre.
My plan with that was to like give it an hour or two, and then if it's like I found bouncing off of it, just return it.
Did you get it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. I feel like it would be fun to play with friends to work together and build a civilization.
Is it multiplayer?
Yeah, it has. Okay. It seems like it has a really robust multiplayer system. That's why I originally got it, because I was like, oh, I kind of want to play this with my cousin, because we usually go through games from bottom to top and try to beat them together.
Yeah.
And so I thought, oh, this is another co-op game. It's kind of like a survival thing. It seems like it could be fun. But then the more I play it, the more I'm just bogged down by like annoying systems, or I don't really understand the settlement mechanic fully yet. And it seems like the goal is to make multiple settlements, but then I don't know how to easily traverse between them. I don't know if you get like portals, but then there's also items that if you get certain objects, you can unlock and visibly see more items. Whereas with Terraria, it's kind of like you make the workbench and you see a whole bunch of items. With this game, it seems like you have to get the actual materials before you can see what comes next. So there's like a level of you kind of have to explore to see what's even out there. And so I don't have a full scope of what is out there, what are the things I can get to.
Yeah, see, what always helps me in those kinds of games is if there's like a sandbox mode and you just kind of go through and go like, oh, there's this, oh, that unlocks, okay, I want to get to that point. Yeah, you know.
So I will play more of it. I think my initial impression of it is that I don't like it that much, but I definitely think I could find aspects of it that are more interesting. And I definitely think playing with friends would be better. But I did really like Core Keeper, which is kind of similar to this. Yeah. Except it's not focused on the settlement aspect. You're more of like the hero type character that does everything. Yeah. With the automation of the conveyor belt eventually happening.
Yeah. There's conveyor belts.
Yeah, there's conveyor belts. Not in this game. In Core Keeper.
I never got to that point in Core Keeper.
I never used the conveyor belts in it, but they do have an automation type system with electricity and stuff that you can do. Because I noticed in this game it has an electricity type system that you can eventually develop into. I just haven't explored it enough.
Gotcha.
So I don't know. It's interesting. And then that, if we're going to continue talking about games, that Chinese cultivation game I'm playing, Tales of the Immortal, is fascinating to me. At first, I actually really disliked the game. And then once I got more into it and understood the gameplay loop, I really liked it.
Yeah.
Because what happened is you feel kind of powerless in the beginning, and then as you grow stronger and stronger, you feel more capable and more powerful. But the cultivation simulation thing is really weird because essentially it's the same thing you're doing over and over, but in a different way each time. So you're like, oh, you got to get these materials, you got to collect these things, you got to kill these monsters. And then I was like, okay, well, this gameplay loop seems kind of boring. And then you join like a branch of like a cultivation group, and then they start running like raid type missions against other sects of people. And so then it's like the game went from like a PvE against like monsters to almost like a PvP, even though they're still all enemy, like program enemies. You're like fighting all the other cultivators. And so now you're like, man, I kind of want to be like the best cultivator because, well, I can kill some of these monsters and that's kind of fun and sometimes boring, whatever. Then like you have these like 40-person missions where you're trying to capture objectives where you're all fighting with your different like arts and martial arts stuff. It's super fascinating. I love it because you're like, oh, I'm just like one cultivator, and every time I go to a city, there's like 200 people. And then there's like a whole romance and like relationship system I have not like delved into. Like you can debate with people, you can like talk about you can small talk with them, you can marry people, you can ask for people to be your son and daughter or mother and father, like essentially like a Chinese type thing where they're not like literally biologically that, but as far as like, oh, you're like my mentor sort of thing, or you're like my stand-in father. Like you can develop those relationship systems with people, and you can trade stuff, and you can like you could pickpocket from people and steal what's on their person. It's so many different systems I have not explored. Jeez. And even though 70% of the game is fucking menus, it's almost like Europa Universalis, like 4, that game that people play a lot, or Crusader Kings 2.
Crusader Kings,
yeah, that game is like all menus. It almost is like that in some ways. But the parts that do have the 30% action are a lot of fun, and I love fighting these giant dragon bosses with like faces and stuff with my martial art type abilities. Man, it is that game is fun too. So that's what I've been playing. Well, you can talk more about Zelda, or what else have you been playing? Anything new?
I don't know, dude. I rebeat all the Pikmins.
Yeah.
In preparation.
Oh man, you went full out and rebeat everything.
They're too easy now.
They're not Is there a way to add challenges? Is there like a difficulty or something?
In Pikmin 3, because it's the newest one, they have Ultra Spicy mode, which is just hard mode. And then in Pikmin 2, there's the challenges. But I always wanted, like, I've beat the challenges in the past, and they're not terribly hard. You can do them co-op, which is what I want to do. So if you want to play Pikmin 2, let me know.
Dude, maybe we'll do a Pikmin. I still haven't released our Dark and Darker playthrough.
I know, we got to do a...
I saw you were playing Dolphin Emulator. Is that what you've been playing them on? Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Well, I have... So, like, Pikmin 1 and 2 got re-released on the Switch, and I'm like, oh, I should buy that. And then I'm like, wait a second. I literally have the discs, like, in my house. Yeah. I just need to plug in a Wii or something, and I'm there.
Yeah, what's the point?
I mean, I'm just gonna download the ROM. Like,
you're just wasting money.
Yeah. Well, it's like, I don't know, man. Those are cool games. I don't really want to play them on Switch, so I don't know. Yeah, so, you know. That game comes out 16 days from now.
I see. Sweet. Yeah. So you're prepared.
Yeah.
We'll have to talk to you post Pikmin. I bet you'll beat it in one day.
I did it on the third one, yeah. Well, see, like, what it is like, the first one is like a challenge of, you need to find all these ship pieces within X amount of days, but, like, the real challenge is trying to get as few days as possible. And then the second one, you have unlimited days, so it's not really much of a rush. So you just kind of go like, I'll just do this cave and whatever. And so whatever. It doesn't matter how many days you do it.
Yeah.
And then the third one, it's kind of timed again, and there's a leaderboard online and stuff. And so it's kind of like, oh, I want to see how many days I can get. And that one's, it's kind of fun.
Dude, we'll play on a play date, dude. I'll come over and we'll just play Pikmin.
Yeah, just play Pikmin 2.
That is a game I have not played. I don't really understand the puzzle aspect of it. I don't know.
I think if you booted up Pikmin 1, you would see the puzzle aspect immediately. Because it's like, there's ship pieces everywhere. And I can kind of see how I need to get these, but I need to organize myself in order to do that. So
that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
It is its own... It kind of reminds me of its own genre of game based off of the name. Everybody's like, oh, this is like a Pikmin type game.
Yeah.
Same thing for Katamari Damacy. Like that.
It's a Katamari.
Yeah, it's a Katamari game.
It's Katamari-like.
Yeah. I eventually want to create games that are like that. They're their own genres.
Yeah.
Just based off the name. Because everybody's like, oh, it's just like this.
Well, I mean, like, Pikmin's just like an RTS
puzzle. Yeah, you have like your generic categories, right? That
you
can use to describe things, but then some games are like,
it's not really an RTS. Yeah. It's more action-y than that.
Yeah.
And it's,
like, when I was looking up games like Cruelty Squad, you can't really find anything like that. Like you
Doom
have
mods?
Yeah, you have themes, right? You have like, Doom, dystopia, kind of like cyberpunk things, but then you're like, I want it packaged in like PlayStation 1 graphics or like just like old type game feels.
Damn it, I can't remember the name. There's a Doom like that cyberpunk that has PS1 graphics, just like not as like bad, purposely bad looking, but like
I remember Dusk was a popular one.
I think it's literally called like cyberpunk. But
no, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's it's like,
because I played that for a while. It's fun. You got Chainsaw Leg.
Isn't it like something weird, like a Latin sounding name, like Ars something? Man, I can't remember. I know what you're talking about though.
I thought it had something simple as a name, but you got like a chainsaw leg, and you can like that you crouch and that chainsaw leg activates, and you launch yourself. It's pretty cool.
I've seen that. That game looks pretty neat. Yeah, that game scratches an itch for me.
Yeah.
Cruelty Squad.
Yeah. I think I have that same itch of like first person repeatable shooter. I think that's the important part, is like you have like, you can plan a path to do something really efficiently. You know, I think that's the...
And I like the I think something that really titillates me, that I love a lot about it, is that it isn't focused on the perfection and polish, because you could argue that the early Modern Warfare games are kind of like that, right? Where you go on a mission and you have to succeed, but they don't have the silly and fun stuff like a grappling hook or like super jump or, weird, stupid guns that make no sense. Like those aspects I like. The trying to be creative about it thing is fun to me.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that there was a speed run for Cruelty Squad that's like 11 minutes. I haven't watched it yet, but I imagine it uses the grappling hook or some other thing in some way.
It's got it. I mean, like, well, dude, you'd have to go through so many missions without it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like beat all. Maybe.
I imagine there are probably categories from start to finish with no items or anything, and I'm sure start to finish with everything unlocked, they use everything to their advantage. But that's super fun.
What a good game. Anyway.
It's like Hotline Miami, but if the money actually mattered and you could buy stuff in between. I mean, you can buy like the mask, I think, and like some guns, but it's not the same. You just
buy a mask, yeah. Well, yeah, Hotline, you just buy... Yeah, you just get a mask and that gives you like a slightly different play style to do. Which
is fine, but I just like more customization.
Yeah.
Like, if anything, my ideal game, which is probably something I'll need to make, is a form of Cruelty Squad, but with a lot more character customization.
Yeah.
like an RPG level stats that matter in some way. That would be really compelling to me.
You like your stats.
I like stats. I like to build characters. That's fun. That's why I like the cultivation simulator thing.
Yeah.
Because I'm like building something.
See, I don't really... Like, I like that to a degree. I just don't want it to be complicated. I want it to be laid out where it's like, here's the benefit of doing this, and here's the negative. And I go, oh, that sounds good for what I'm doing.
Yeah, because like the way I think about it is like, okay, Cruelty Squad, you have like 5 slots that you can put items into.
Yeah.
That are each specifically categorized to fit those items. You can't just use them interchangeably. And then you have 2 slots for guns. And so you think about like, well, how many choices can a player make? And how valuable are those choices? And so like you have, okay, well, you got 30 guns and then 2 slots, so that's that many choices. And then you have 4 slots with maybe like 30 or 40 different types of items, but each one you only make about like less than 10 decisions per slot because each item can only go into a slot. So that's how many decisions there. So I kind of base it off of like, you want to have as many decisions as possible, but you want to value all of those decisions as much as possible because you don't want somebody to just, power hungrily only use one weapon because that's kind of boring. You want to make a use case for everything almost. But that's the game designer in me that wants that sort of thing. But I love it for what it is.
Yeah.
I don't care how imperfect it is. That game's amazing. Super fun. I can't wait to grind all the money or just fish for hours and then get all the money for all the items. I do think fishing is more profitable than doing the 1-minute runs on the cop level.
There was like a fish that was worth like $1 million or something, and I'm like, oh, that just wins the game.
Yeah, I don't know what the chances are for all the stuff. Like, I got a fish I only spent like 5 or 10 minutes fishing, and I had gotten a fish that was worth like $8K. I was like, that's a lot of money. If I just keep fishing, who knows? I mean,
no, I would see. Like, I think, like, I don't know. I have a feeling I'm going to search all the levels for all the weapons. Once I get all the weapons, finish whatever levels need to be done. And then that'll probably be it. I think I'll just be like, I'm happy having I think that's where I'm usually at, is I'm happy unlocking everything.
Yeah, I want to unlock everything in that game. That's my goal.
Yeah.
I did not realize, like you said until recently, that the guns actually unlock by carrying them to the end of the level.
Yeah.
So I got to go back and get like the rocket launcher, the assault rifle, and whatever.
You got to find the flashlight. That one's AIDS.
I've accidentally stumbled on the flashlight.
Okay.
But I'll have to because in the police level, he's like up in the turrets. There's a guy with a flashlight. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. Well,
yeah, with that one, I was like, I have to come back at the end because there's no way I'm gonna carry that.
But you mentioned that silenced SMG. I gotta go get that. That's my next thing. I mean, holy shit.
It's hard to find ammo for is the only issue.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't even feel like I use that many shots, but whatever.
Yeah.
Because with the grappling hook, you can kind of Spider-Man around
and
hide from everything.
Well, like, the fact that it tells you how many enemies and how many civilians are left makes me think, like, in order to get an S, you have to, like, get X amount of time and kill all the enemies and none of the civilians.
Yeah, but I've also seen that in the upgrades, you can buy stuff like sleeper grenades and things like that don't damage civilians.
One of the first guns you start with is the sleep dart.
Yeah, I haven't tried it, so I didn't use
I also skipped it.
Yeah. I saw it in there and I was like, do I want this? Like, I guess I'll try it. I should probably experiment more. I saved up for the grappling thing just because I had to see if it was as broken as I imagined, and it is. It is amazing. It allows you to reach any place without having to go through all the bullshit.
Yeah. I can imagine now, like, if you get that, you can just pretty much speedrun any level.
Yeah, I'm basically speedrunning, or at least I'm circumnavigating all of these enemies that I found particularly annoying.
Yeah.
Which is very funny. Just slingshot away.
Yeah.
But not, dude. In another way too, the funny thing is I imagine my previous mindset would have said that playing video games is not productive. And I think I reiterated this on the last podcast. But the idea of playing games for inspiration has been productive in the creativity for me as well.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I can make a Cruelty Squad level in my game, but I might try, brother. I might find
Just make everything look disgusting.
Yeah.
And you'll be good.
But I like the aspect of the gameplay where, like, you go in for a mission to make money.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll make it like an arcade thing where you, like, go in, you gotta complete the mission to make money.
Yeah.
Eliminate the targets.
God.
It's good, man.
Yeah. So, video games, cool.
Video games, neat.
Yeah.
Good time.
Ooga
Booga.
Did you ever, yeah, Ooga Booga, actually. No, I don't even need word. What am I thinking of?
I don't know.
Anyway.
Is there anything else you want to talk about for our podcast?
I was trying to think of that. And now I don't. So, I went on vacation.
Yeah, how was that?
It was good. I'm a little tan now.
That's good.
I got some vitamins.
I'm
some D.
Sensing that some things I don't know, they're boring to you. Do you need more stimulation?
What?
They said I'm sensing based on your reaction and summary of some of the events in your life that these things are boring to you.
No, vacation was really nice.
Oh, was it? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it wasn't boring.
Okay.
It was like hanging out on a beach, all that stuff. I think now that I'm an adult, that because when I was a kid, I never the beach. Well, yeah, I'm just gonna sit there. No, I'll like swim around, like I don't know, dig in the sand, do stuff like that. That was pretty sick. Now I'm like older, and I'm like, just sitting here with a beer. That's all I really want to do. Drink a lot? Yeah.
Not working? I'm down.
Yeah. And then
you called?
Yeah.
I'm answering.
My cousin who has a child was up there for the first time with the child. Child is 3 ish. Yeah, she's out like running around and stuff. She wanted to play hide and seek. She hid Legos in our beds, and then she was like, I am the tricky, and like that was pretty cute.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, so
and torturous.
Yeah, well, she's the tricky, so
yeah, the tricky.
It makes sense.
Little mischievous child.
Yeah, well, we were all telling her that we were gonna hide Legos in her bed because I don't know, but we just did that. So it's interesting because in like a year or so I'm gonna try to reproduce offspring as well.
Yeah, so I imagine getting some experience with children. You've been thinking about that, right?
Here's the thing that I realize more and more is that they stress me out.
Yeah.
Little kids, I'm like, if I gotta interact with the kid, what can I do? What can I not do? And like, what do I do? Like, if the kid falls in front of me, like, what if I don't reach out and grab the child fast enough before the child falls? Obviously it's a child, so it'll be fine if it falls. But at the same time, should I have reached out to try to grab the child? Does that make me a bad person if I don't reach out to try to grab it? Should I reach out to grab it? I'm not sure. I don't know any of the answers to these things. But it's like, I feel as though I feel this way with other people's kids because I'm worried about like their restrictions and and what have you about their own child. But like, I feel like if I had my own child, would I feel the same way? Probably not. I'd probably just do whatever I think was the correct move to do at the time, rather than sitting there thinking about it. What, like, my body language, because another one of my cousins has a younger child that's like 1, but he's out like running around stuff. He's got like shoes that have like a squeaker in them. It's kind of annoying, but that's fine, you know. But the kid was like running around, and like, you know, he's 1 year old. Like, he doesn't have good balance yet, right? So he's like falling over, and he's like, oh, he's good, and he gets up and just starts running again. It's like, yeah, but I mean, like, what? I don't know. It's stressing me out watching the child run around. I'm like, that thing, I know it's durable. Deep down, I know the child has at least like a durability of 10, something. But I'm concerned.
It sounds like you're going to be an overbearing, overprotective parent.
Yeah, probably.
You're already down that track, dude. You better read something about child rearing or something like that.
Well, it's just like, I watch my wife like take care of a child, and she looks like she's zero stress. She's got it like baked in. The motions are there, and I'm like thinking about like every little thing, and like leaving, because I was for Father's Day, I was at my grandparents' place, and that's where the 1-year-old was, and I was just stressed out, like watching this kid run around, and like my cousin was like, oh, watch out. Sam doesn't look like he wants to take responsibility for you. I'm like, what is that supposed to mean? Oh, no, I don't, but I do. Should I? I don't.
Yeah. You look like you're going to split your head open over there, son.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Nah, dude, it's funny. I get it. I don't know if this story you'll like it or hate it, but it probably a mix of both. It's a very interesting memory for me. But when I was younger, I was like doing a pillow fight with one of my uncles, and like he broke my arm. Like, my arm was like fucking broken.
Yeah.
So I had to go get a cast and shit. So it was pretty crazy.
Jesus.
We were just playing around.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So I do think kids are durable in the sense that they can grow.
Oh,
like they can heal faster.
Yeah, I broke my arm. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm fine now.
But the idea of like breaking your arm in a pillow fight is pretty fucking funny.
It is, yeah. But yeah, no, you know, that's a wacky little thing to think about, I guess. I'll
have to ask my uncle what his thoughts about that situation were. It's been years.
Yeah, but I do think that he probably was. Did he play with you all the time when you were a kid?
Yeah, we did play.
So,
but I don't think we played much after that.
No, yeah, you'd kind of not want to.
If I think there was more distance or something, or whatever.
Oh God!
So that's kind of funny. Yeah, dude, you got some things to think about. Maybe you need to meditate on them. Do some more floats.
I do.
Do you have like a timeline for when baby making happens, or what?
Sometime next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just like, you know, it's rough. It's like I know mentally I'd be okay. I can do it. You know, that's good. It's just like I obviously, because of the way I like to play video games, I like to prepare for things and kind of plan routes.
Yeah, you sound logistical. That's what you like. Yeah. You're like a Factorial player, but for life. I am.
But for living, yeah. And so it's like not everything can be that way, right? But it's just hard for it, you know. It's hard.
I have the same problem. Sometimes it's difficult to let go. Yeah. Right? You want everything to follow a conveyor belt, and then with your expectations meted against it, it's difficult.
Yeah, with like that I'm okay with. It's that I'm thinking about this. I think part of the problem is just that it's someone else's child. Yeah. Right? I do think that's the majority of the issue.
Yeah, because I imagine in some way you don't want to impede or impose your teaching on to them or something, or what?
Whenever I was a kid, I had younger cousins, and they always got hurt partially due to me. And so I always, once I got slightly older, I would distance myself from whoever's kids because I was like always afraid that I was going to hurt another kid again. So I think partially it's that. And so now it's manifesting its own whatever by it's manifesting itself in my current edition.
Yeah.
through like anxiety of not really knowing what to do with the person's kid because I stopped like thinking and doing things around people's kids. I literally I'll just go to a different room and avoid it all entirely.
Yeah, like subconsciously you created this way to avoid blame or be responsible for people hurting themselves.
By just exiting it. Yeah. So I've never had to deal with it. Now I'm trying to make myself deal with it, which is making me pretty stressed out and then going like, oh man, why am I so stressed out? This sucks. No. Yeah. Oh.
Well, at least you can identify that as something that you have subconsciously been doing. And now that you're bringing it conscious, then maybe you can try to change it or learn some new pattern of behavior.
It's always the way, yeah. But, you know.
I mean, you gotta identify it first. That's where I think it starts. You're well on your way. You'll be raising kids in no time.
Yeah.
All you gotta do is get rid of that second guessing, and tomorrow you'll be a baby daddy.
Baby daddy. I don't think I want to be a baby daddy. But you know, so that's all.
No, that's cool. It's an interesting thing to think about. Yeah. I still, whenever I think about like the idea of children, my girlfriend does not want children at all. No. But I vacillate between like not feeling like I'm mature enough to have children. Like I think I could teach kids useful things. Like because I'm pretty sure I talked about like my cousin coming over the last time and him shadowing me while like we try to do programming. And I think that is a mix between like letting the kid self-direct themselves and do things that are interesting and then using your knowledge to help allow them to blossom that thought essentially. And then also a mix of like being the authority and trying to keep it disciplined as well. I can balance that. I think I need a lot more practice like a teacher, but
you get better. Yeah.
But I do understand the concept of what that does. Like I noticed when I was asking him, like, what do you want to see next in this game that we're building together? And he's like, oh, I want like a button. Like I'm really fascinated with like this idle game stuff. He's like, I love numbers getting bigger. And I'm like, okay, we'll make numbers get bigger. That's fine. Here's a number. No, we'll have it displayed. Now it's getting bigger.
Oh my God.
And then he's like, this is amazing. And I'm like, all right, now I have a button. And I'm like, you have to move your character to step on the button. He's like, that's great. I was like, what do you want to see next? And he's like, I want to see an auto button, a button that automatically increases over time. I'm like, sure, dude, I'll program it. So I programmed it. And he's like, that's great, but it's too slow. And I was like, you're right. It needs to be exponential in order to reward the player. And I was like, what sort of exponential algebraic equation should we use? And he's like, well, why don't we times it by 2? I was like, sure, let's try it. And I loaded it up and tried it. And he's like, nah, that doesn't work. It doesn't feel good enough. I'm like, you're right, it doesn't. So I was like, what do you think the solution should be? He's like, I don't know. I was like, let's ask ChatGPT what the exponential equation should be. And so we went to ChatGPT. We're like, how do we make a rewarding exponential equation to make sure that the button increases? And it's like, oh, you have to do the number, whatever you want to do, increase it by 1.5 times the level of whatever the upgrade is of the button. So then it goes up exponentially. And he's like, yeah, it feels so much better. I'm like, yeah. And then he spends like 30 minutes like making the number get bigger. I'm like, what do you want to see next?
I want to see the number get bigger.
Yeah. So there was a balance between that, like asking him what he wants to do and using what information I had to try to make that a reality. And then also like I wanted to play like Terraria later. So I kind of booted it up. And then we were trying to play Terraria, but he was like kind of disinterested in it because he didn't want to play it and I wanted to play it. So there was like a balance between it. So it was pretty interesting to see like both dichotomies. And so then we went back to programming and I was essentially programming and talking through it. But that was something he wanted to come out to do. So I actually don't know if I mentioned that in the last podcast at all.
Didn't.
Yeah. That was something I just did recently after I changed over. Yeah, because we would have done the podcast before the desk changed.
Yeah.
But when I changed my desk the following day, I had him come out. His mom brought him out. My little cousin, I forget how old he is. He's probably like 10, 11, 12, something like that.
Gotcha.
But he was really interested in game design, and so he wanted to like shadow me essentially at work. But I'm like, my work is literally just like, okay, you know what'd be funny? I should make this more difficult. Or like, man, I want to read a book. Like, I don't know. So
you're like, so this is me at work, and you just open a book.
Yeah. Or like, you know, sometimes it's research, sometimes it's trying to focus on the balance of production versus production capability of like doing exercise, eating well, cooking. I didn't get into any of that. I just showed him the base of like, what is it like to sit down and program? And it's like, it's asking yourself questions essentially. Like, what do I think would be fun? would this be fun? Cool, I'm going to try it. Does it seem fun after trying it? No. Okay, how would I fix it? And, like, essentially, that's what the process is. And then I showed him, like, okay, I got to do all the art. I didn't get into sound work or anything, but I was like, here's how I do the art for it, and here's how I move the art to make it work. Here's what, like, kind of some of the basis of programming looks like. And then we just made whatever game he visually wanted, which is great because idle games are like the easiest thing to fucking make.
Yeah.
But the number getting bigger is the perfect easy thing to do.
I want to make an RTS with game balance.
Yeah. My cousin really likes that style of game, and I don't know if this is, obviously it's such a small sample size, so I cannot say with certainty that this is true, but he really likes the idea of games where he's not really doing anything. He likes the games where you just sort of sit and watch things happen. He's very passive. And I don't know if that's a specific character trait relating to him or his upbringing or something. But he likes, like, when he talks about games that he loves in Roblox, there's, like, one of the games he was describing and he showed me was, like, a sitting simulator game. The person that sits the longest gets the biggest score.
Yeah.
Or like, a game where you just, your whole goal is to just watch balls fall, and then there's different rarer balls that spawn, and you have to go click on them. Like, that's it.
Now, I played Roblox a long time ago.
Yeah, you and me both, long time ago.
And there was one, it was like Cookie Factory Tycoon or something, and like all it was making assembly lines that automatically make the cookies and then upgrading them. And I remember being very satisfied that I built everything, and then it gives you like a fort wall, and then like you can buy like an armory at the end, and it costs like $1 bajillion, and you can like snipe other people. Like, yeah. Mm-hmm. But like, I mean, I can understand seeing the number go up, but at some point it just becomes boring.
Yeah, I think that those games, though, had more in the way of upgrading and making your process more efficient.
Yeah.
There was some sort of efficiency goal that you sort of created in your mind that you wanted to see, and then you work towards that goal. But the games he plays are very, very passive. They're almost as if you astrally projected like yourself and did nothing. Like, while it's so bizarre. So it's like, I mean, like, okay, he plays a sitting game. Is there like pants that give you double points? No, nothing like that. The only thing you do is you can, when you get higher scores, you can unlock different things to sit in. Like fancier chairs.
Can you move while you're in the chair?
No. It's literally just a sitting thing, and he has like one of the highest scores for just sitting the longest.
He's like,
and it just continues to accrue. Like, you don't have to sit for the longest period of time. You just have to keep coming on the server and sitting. And that's it. They're like essentially chat rooms with like numbers get bigger. Yeah, it's really bizarre. Sometimes they're not games. He plays stuff that are more game-like, but nothing like Terraria, more like number get bigger sort of thing. Or he loves Cookie Clicker, dude.
I mean, that's not even like...
He went through and fucking showed me, like, dude... I was impressed, but also fucking, like, dying on the inside, because he goes and shows me Cookie Clicker, dying of hilarity on the inside, because he shows me Cookie Clicker, and he wants to show me some of the endgame aspects of Cookie Clicker. So this fucking kid, he has it memorized to a T. He, like, opens up the dev console, like, opens up the cheats, names his profile. He, like, starts going through and, like, adding all the cheats on, and then he starts buying everything up to show me, like, endgame type stuff in Cookie Clicker. I'm like, holy shit, it's fucking hilarious.
Got it memorized.
Yeah, he has it. He's, like, explaining the process of the games. He, like, has an understanding of the mechanics he really likes in the game, and he understands the rebirthing aspect of Cookie, like all of this he completely likes, enjoys, and he loves the number getting bigger like a primitive barbarian. It's amazing. It is so funny to me. Holy shit. I was dying. I was just laughing as he's going through all these menus as if they're second nature to him.
Yeah.
Like, he's played this 1,000 times on his school computer.
God.
Out of fucking boredom.
I'm trying to remember. I remember when I was a kid, there was something... Oh, this is like Gary's Mod. Going in the console and just like typing in all the things I wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah, like just...
It was very funny. And I appreciate that he gave me such an easy example of like a game we could build together. But I think the thing I wanted to teach most, if anything, was through doing that, like the concept of... You can be as creative as you want. You just have to find interest in what you're doing and then do it. And then you can make it. That's all essentially it is. I think often people sort of trade their imagination later, or it dulls from not using it. I found people that are very unimaginative, or their own belief of their unimaginativity gates their ability to be imaginative.
You know, I just ran into that recently.
Really?
Yeah, after vacation, I was at home and I went to the gym and I was like kind of like walking on the treadmill. I was physically exhausted. This is after workout or whatever, and like I just like all weekend I was kind of like, no, I'm a little dumb. No, I'm pretty stupid. And like just kept thinking that over and over again. And like it took me all the way up until I was off of like done with vacation, working out, and I was like kind of exhausted. I was thinking about it, like, wait a second. Why do I keep saying that I'm stupid? I started believing myself just a little bit, and I'm like, I'm not actually stupid. Wait a minute.
You have a business.
There's
like plenty of demarcation. There's plenty of quantifiable data to say that you're not stupid.
And I don't even know why I started doing that. I just started doing it like just before vacation. Then like the whole vacation, I was like, yeah, I don't know, and just.
And it's the same thing when you. This is something I really liked about the habit books and the self-help thing. The idea that your mentality can affect like who you are.
Yeah.
And if you really want to build a habit, the best thing you can do is identify with it. Mm-hmm. If you want to read more books, identify yourself as somebody who reads. Because having that identification and that personality to fit with it makes it a stronger belief.
Yeah.
Like you are that person. So if you constantly believe you're dumb, then you're limiting yourself. Yeah. You're like, I'm dumb. I might as well make a dumb decision.
Yeah.
I'm an idiot. I might as well just do something really fucking retarded.
Yeah, wait a second.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I put in my principles when I was defining it is one of my favorite quotes from Illusions by Richard Bach. And the quote is, argue your limitations, and they're yours. If you keep arguing for your limitations, you can have them. Take them.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. You argue you can't walk like a mile, then you're never going to be able to walk a mile. You believe it. You're done. That's your lot in life. You've decided. Argue for it. It's yours.
God. Dude, just one last,
You can keep talking, bro.
You're arguing limitations thing, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I was working out, and I was like, there's a big fan bike at the gym, where, like, you ride it, and the only resistance is that there's a giant fan on it, so you can only spin it as hard as you can, right? And there's more and more resistance the harder you pedal. So, like, I was doing that, and, like, every minute, I would do 15 seconds of like as hard as possible, or no, every 45 seconds I think I would do as hard as possible. And so like on the minute I'd be slow again. So like I remember getting to like minute 10 and I was like, I'm gonna try to go for 15. I remember getting to minute 10. I'm like, dude, you already did 5 minutes, just do another 5 minutes, you idiot. Like, oh, you don't think you can make it to 15? See if you can. I bet you can. You could probably just do 12. 12 is easy. Yeah, we'll cut it off at 12. And like somehow that tricks my mind just enough to go like, okay, yeah, let's go. 12. Yeah, and then I get to 12. I'm like, dude, 3 more minutes.
Yeah,
come 3 on. More. Look, you can at least get to 13. I get to 13. I'm like, 2. We can do 2. We can do 2.
Yeah. It's like, you're just baiting. Your brain wants the path of least resistance. And you're like, you can do just a little bit.
Look at 15 seconds. What is that?
That's what I liked about that same strategy is in the book, like How to Finish Anything or something. Well, I forget what that guy's name. It's really weird. But that book talks about the concept of completing things, and he's like, just half your goals. Like, whatever your goal is, just cut it in half.
Yeah.
And then do that. Because once you do that, you're like, I might as well just do the rest.
Yeah. I mowed half the lawn. I got to finish it.
Or just set your goals lower, and instead of setting them so unrealistically high that you just are overwhelmed with the demand of the possibility of doing that thing. Like, just half them. And then once you do half, you're like, oh, I already done half. I can do another half.
Yeah.
And then if that goal still seems farther, half that again. And then just keep doing it. Keep halving it. That was really funny. I think it was How to Finish Anything by Atkins. I don't know if it's Atkins. It's a weird name. John Akuda, something like that. Whatever.
I have no idea. Oh,
if you guys want my book list, just let me know at rovingslant@gmail.com.
Yeah, just send us an email about anything.
Yeah.
Oh, damn it, dude! This is gonna be the biggest episode we've ever done.
It's fine. Let's do it.
Because I have one last thing that I remember.
Let's hear it.
So basically, I replaced my front door.
Oh my god, you did!
I know. Finally, after all this time, I went. We bought the door, got everything. My dad came over, and like my dad is like really good at a lot of things. He's there's a video game that essentially you go from age 20 to age 80, and every time that you die, you gain a skill point. But once you get to age 80, it's over, right? And I think every 10 levels, you get like a major skill. And so like you can grind out stuff, and like you can roll better, and like you have more strength when you're younger. And then as you get older, you can use magic easier. And so like it's easy, you kind of do that. But anyways, he's been playing that game his entire life, I think. And so like I think he's gotten better at things even since I was a kid. And so like now he's just like really good at random like physical tasks, like he was like scraping caulk off of my wall, and like he's like, yeah, I just scraped that off, and I'm like scraping it kind of slowly. He's like he like stood back for a second. He's like, oh, here, let me see that, and just like just instantaneously gets all the caulk up. Oh, okay. So yeah, we had to install the door, and my house is old. So we take the door off, and we find out that was probably the original door, which explains why it was so disgusting. Like it was pretty bad. It was kind of beat up and
wonky.
Yeah. So like we take that out. That wasn't terrible. And then we go to put in the new one. We set it in there. We find out that it's on a stone. So like back in the 60s, whatever, 68, 69, where they built my house, rather than put your door on a 2x4 like they do now, they built a stone specifically for your door. And I don't know why, but that's what they did. So the stone was tilted like 25 or a quarter of an inch. I don't know, a bit. Quarter of an inch down on one side. So we had to like go get more caulk at Home Depot and like come back. We caulked it up, and then we found out that we need more different kinds of caulk in order to like do that, to do more stuff essentially. It took us like 8 hours to do the front door.
Yeah, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, and we were going to do the back door as well, but that's going to be worse in every way. But yeah, so anyways, it was kind of fun doing a front door. Not like fun in a fun way, but it was like you're learning something new. You're doing like a physical task. It's like it's a thing. So I don't know. I just wanted to say that achievements.
Yeah. I mean, that's something you've mentioned on the podcast multiple times, is not doing this front door.
Yeah.
And not having the time to do the front door because of the car parts.
Yeah, the car parts required me.
Yeah, so now you've been freed from the car parts. And metaphorically and symbolically, you've been able to have a new door. You can now open your door to a new world.
That's right.
And it's a new door, and you can enter the door into a new home. The home being a representation of your internal mental state. Right?
Yeah.
You're mentally feeling better because you have a new door with which to enter and exit.
That's true.
Yeah. And
to see the world.
A new, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
it's beautiful.
There's a lot here.
There is.
We could unpack this, or we could go through the front door.
Dude, let's go through the front door.
Yeah, we can go through the front door.
And then you just reminded me, now that you said car parts, you triggered me. And
yeah.
I went, when I was on vacation, I went kayaking with old work people. That was interesting. Just like people that you like only work with, and like, you know them, but not like super well and stuff, and just going down a river in a kayak. Pretty interesting.
Did you guys chat about anything interesting, or?
Oh yeah. I mean, like some of it was like, oh yeah, old work stuff, like what's happened since I left, and like other than that, it was just like I'm very. Whenever I'm around them, I get really like jokey. I don't know. I'm probably normally a little jokey, but like I feel with them, I have like this like sarcastic, almost sassiness that I bring out. Yeah,
that's interesting. I don't know if I've seen that, Sam.
I don't know, maybe not, I don't know. But they it's just, it was kind of fun seeing them outside of a job, Yeah,
so. I do feel everybody sort of has some sort of job persona that they have to puppet.
Yeah.
During their work hours.
We pilot this real quick.
Yeah. And then they can be the real beast when they get home.
Oh, yeah.
Take off those clothes. Slip into casuals.
Don't wear them.
Yeah. Once the pajamas come on, it's all out.
Dude, I wear pajamas sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Did you feel like you were being particularly inauthentic by being your sarcastic, sassy self with them? Or did you...
I feel... It's just because, like, 2 of them are foreign, and I've worked up, like, I've through me being, like, sarcastic and sassy and stuff, they've figured out sarcasm, and so I think that they enjoyed that, and so I was like, I kind of like being that character a little bit. And so, like, I just will do that, I guess.
Can you give me an example of, like, a sarcastic comment that you had during the...
Not really. I mean, there's nothing, like, specific, right? It's just, I always, as the kids would call it, I clap back.
You're clapping.
I'm clapping back every time. I don't know, but...
Yeah, it depends on who's on the receiving end. Sometimes it's them, sometimes it's their mom.
Mm-hmm.
You're clapping back.
Oh, it's always your mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
You know me, man. Balls deep in your mom.
Yeah.
No, dude, that sounds like a really good time, kayaking.
It was.
Blast.
If you ever want to go down a river...
Yeah, maybe I'll have to do that sometime.
Honestly,
we're going to do our play date for Pikmin, dude. That's what we're going to do.
I'm ready.
And then we can do kayaking next.
Give
Whatever.
Give me a day.
Yeah, we'll find a day. I don't have a kayak. Actually, I could... I don't know.
I don't have a kayak either.
Yeah, so. Something I want to do is sailing. My father used to take us out sailing. He has a boat. Yeah, I kind of want to...
I've always wanted to try it.
Yeah, maybe I'll ask my dad one of these days and we'll go out. Because his boat is not like a what you would think of as a conventional boat. It's like 2... like almost buoyed canoes that are sealed.
Yeah.
And then you just have like a stretched... like trampoline type fabric between them.
Over top.
Yeah.
That is, yeah. That's pretty cool.
But he likes going on days that are like windy and stormy because that's where you have the wind. So
the sky's black. Excellent.
Perfect day for this.
There's a guy at the boat launch. Don't launch!
my dad will be out there launching his fucking ass. Holy shit. I think that would be a blast. I do want to do it again soon. It's been so long since I've done it.
Jeez. It always looks cool to ride around a sailboat. So.
I don't know if I want to be like a full-on salesman, but
sail enthusiast.
Yeah, sail enthusiast. No. But I do like the idea of like some of the exercise and going out and being in the sun for long hours in a wetsuit. Sounds fun to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, dude, I got super burnt. I don't know if you can tell underneath my eyes.
It doesn't look crusty. That bad. Yeah. I'm sure. I mean, when I did my 10-mile walk, that was
You didn't burn though.
Well, the preceding weeks it was like skin peeling off.
So you're a little burnt.
Yeah, I was a little burnt.
Yeah. The sunscreen that I put on, it worked.
I was going to do a long bike ride to my buddy's house for the book club thing, but it's like 40 miles there and 40 miles back, so I'll do that in the future probably to test it. I haven't done biking in a long time, so...
I mean, like, I will tell you, I mean, 40 miles is like...
It was like 3.5
a long
hours,
time.
Yeah.
If you have a good pace, yeah. And that's not even like hills, you know what I mean, so...
I'll have to get better at biking, I think, before I venture on that.
Bring a lot of water.
Yeah, that's the other thing I was thinking about, is having a ton of water.
Yeah.
Because you're just going to sweat it all out.
Well, like, I've been doing, like, the mountain biking, and that helps a lot. Yeah. You know, that's pretty
probably
good.
Conditions you for that, for sure.
Oh, well, I mean, like, you're just riding a bike, and you're going X amount of miles anyway.
Speaking of which, have you beaten any time trials for the biking at all?
No, I haven't. I actually have a phone call I have to answer.
All right, it's fine. We can end the podcast.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. That's it. We out.
Hello.